and welcome to Saturday Night Crafting. Tonight I've got a really fun technique that you've probably all seen before. It's using masking tape and doing a fun background image. But I've got 5 different ways to do this technique to share with you tonight. I'm going to start every card with a standard size card base. So whether you're in North America or whether you are in a country like the UK where we have a different size paper, start with whatever your standard size card base is, and I've done 4 layers. But you don't have to do 4 layers. You could do 1 if you want. This could be a 1-layered card. I liked how it looked. So I've got my colored card base. I've got a foil layer, a white layer, and then the top layer. The top layer and the white layer are generally the same color as what I've worked with. So if I've done black layer below it as well with a foil layer underneath. And then of course I'm going to go ahead and put a little panel on the inside of my cards that I've got somewhere to write. So every one of my card bases is going to be the same standard size card base. I've got a top folding note card and then I've layered it up. So I've got my masking tape on the right. I've also got this low tack tape from Craftelier on the left. I like the masking tape more, but I thought the Craftelier one was fun because it gave you a different width to work with. I did like the width of the standard masking tape, so that's what I use for most of the videos. I'm going to try and share all the colors I'm using with you on the screen, and if I don't share what I'm using on the screen, then hopefully I'll remember to put it in the description box below for you. Now the masking tape is sticky, so you might accidentally drop it where you don't intend to. My first card, I am going with a sort of overall 1/2 centimeter layer around my card, which is what the layers are between each of my base layers. So I'm kind of trying to aim for 1/2 centimeter between each of those colors, and then I'm repeating the color pattern. So I've got the 4 colors, yellow, orange, pink, and blue, and then I'm kind of repeating them until I fill up my card, and then thankfully I got the right amount of space in between all of them and the top and the bottom. And the next thing I'm going to do is add on a stamp. So this is a great way to use up those backgrounds. I love how this looks. It's beautiful, very rainbow-like. And the quickest and easiest way for you to kind of make use of that background is to take a nice big stamp that fills up most of that background and stamp that down. Now I'm going to use black because black is a great way to sort of pull everything together, and then that means I can use my sentiment and stamp that in black as well, and they will kind of go together. I'm using a stamp platform because that's nice and easy for me to stamp down a couple times to make sure I get a really nice dark black layer. I felt like it was a bit bland and a bit plain, so I'm grabbing this Lisa Horton Flash Paste, which is a gorgeous shimmery, glimmery kind of paste. It is water soluble, so I love taking a tiny little drop of that, mixing it with some water, and this was like double what I needed actually. I only needed half of this amount. And then I'm going to go ahead and add splatters all over the top. Now once I was done, I realized actually I wanted to add those splatters before I stamp my image because I want that black image to be really black. So I've gone ahead and added those splatters. I've waited for it to dry completely, and I'm going to stick it back in my stamp platform because my stamp is still in there, and I use that top left hand corner, so I know that I can stick it right back in that top left hand corner and stamp down again and cover up some of that paste, so I've got that beautiful black, deep black image. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the back and stick it onto the front, remembering that the black I'm using, which is the VersaFine Onyx black, is my favorite black ink in the world. It stays wet for a bit longer because it is a pigment ink. So make sure that if you're going to stick it down on the front of your panel before it's dry, you use like a scrap piece of paper over the top, otherwise you'll smear that ink really easily. Now this little scrap was the scrap that I had left over from that top panel. That was the excess that I cut off. Worked perfect for my little stamp set, which I think is retired, so I don't think you can get it anymore. But I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of that and stick that on my card. In this video, I'll do my best to link everything I've used in the description box if you want to check anything out. Some stuff may be retired though. I was just grabbing whatever I felt like using, so it might be there, it might not be there. Just to make you aware, if it's not in the description box, I either forgot about it or it's not available. But do ping me a comment and I will do my best to get a link to you if you're looking for something specific. Now often with these scrapbook.com drops, they are the pops of color drops. I like to try and level them out because they kind of peak a bit, and I kind of slapped on my card a bit too hard, and you can see there on the bottom right, I kind of flattened them like pancakes. So just be mindful if you do that little trick, just be aware not to slap the card too hard on your surface. Now because I wanted the shimmer in, and I did the shimmer in the first one, I decided to use shimmery cardstock for my second card. Now this is where we're going to change up the design. This is number 2. We're going to go for a slightly different kind of pattern. So I'm going to go for sort of angled across the card, and you could just carry on doing angles all the way down the card. And also, if you have done your little strips of picking up ink with your tape and you find that it doesn't pick it up very well, you can always go ahead and add on some more ink and stick your tape down again, and that will kind of fill in any of the blanks if there's too many blanks. This is where I felt like, oh, this tape is a bit too big. I wasn't getting as much play out of it as I wanted to. But it's still fun in the end, and it still means that there's, you know, another way, another version I could do this card with a slightly thicker tape. So this is number 2, where we're going to kind of create a pattern on the background. We're going for some kind of angles. You could do angled all the way across. You could do what I did and split them halfway. For the third version, we are just going to kind of go all over the place. This is where we're going to take our tape. We're going to go for the same kind of strips. So we're going up and down or left and right. We're not kind of going all over the card. And I feel like that kind of makes it a bit easier on the eyes. I think if you went all over the card, it'd look like a hot mess. But this way you're getting sort of still a pattern, almost like a checked pattern, but I'm not intentionally trying to get a checked pattern. It's a really fun way to use your tape, and it gives you a different look completely to the slightly angled version that I just did. So this is number 3, where we're going to kind of stick those tapes down, up and down and side to side. So again, here on the left is the shiny paper with the slightly angled look, and on the right is the more sort of checkered look. Now, when I was doing this, I thought, oh, this would be so fun to do on some black cardstock with these really shiny inks. These are from Lisa Horton Crafts. I love these inks. They're the only inks I've seen in the whole entire market shiny like this. They are magic. So you can see on the ink pad cover, they start out one color and go to a different color. So if you're using white cardstock, they will look like the left-hand side of the front cover of the ink pad. If you're using black cardstock or dark cardstock, they will look like the right-hand side of the ink pad. So they change color, which is so cool. And because they are metallic inks, they show up stunningly on dark cardstock. So I love these inks. I often forget I've got them in my stash. I don't have all of them. I've only got a selection of them, but they are so pretty. And I thought, right, I'm going to do everything I do with the white cardstock, I'm going to do with this black cardstock and these interference inks from Lisa Horton. And how beautiful is this? When it fully dries, you can see that bottom one a lot more clear, but you can see those gorgeous colors. They are so cool, and it really makes your cards pop. So because with the white cardstock I did black ink, I thought let's do white ink on the black card. So I've got this pigment ink from Lisa Horton Crafts. It's a white pigment ink. You can also use any white pigment ink. I usually use the unicorn white from Hero Arts. I've got that one as well, but I think I've kind of damaged it because I've mixed some ink into it. But I've got the Lisa Horton one as well, which works beautifully. Now I stamped it 3 times. I'm going to let it dry completely and then stamp it once more. And I get this gorgeous crisp white color. It really pops off the card. It's so pretty. So as a little comparison, here's the angled one and the sort of crisscross one. And then here it is again in the metallic ink on black or dark cardstock for both of them. So a completely different kind of look if you're using light or dark card, whether you're using shimmery cardstock or plain cardstock. You can really play with these colors a lot and have a lot of fun. So here's that first card finished off, and it's all dry and looking great. And then I finished off a couple more as well. So here's the one with the shimmery ink. I did it on white card instead of black card. So you can see I've used the similar kind of colors, and it gives a very shiny look to that cardstock. And then here it is again with the same colors, but on black cardstock. And you get the same... It's the exact same technique, but a totally different look to all those cards. Let me know in the comments which one you prefer the most. I think I still like the middle one the most, but I love shine, and so I really love those shimmery inks. For this one, I'm going to switch up how we kind of finished off. Instead of using a big bold stamp, I'm going to use a sort of big bold die. I don't think this is available anymore. I've had it for a few years, but it's a really cute piece of foliage. So I cut the foliage out of the exact same cardstock I used for the card base. So that kind of ties that card base into the front of the card. I'm going to go ahead and add some glue to the back of it. It looks like a lot, but I'm just dabbing my glue on because it's white on dark gray. It looks like I'm heavy-handed, but I'm not. And I don't know how this happened. When I lined it up originally, it fit perfectly. And then when I put the glue on, all of a sudden it was like half a centimeter too long. So I just trimmed off that one edge. Then I went ahead and stamped Happy Birthday on the same kind of shimmery cardstock. It's like a pearlescent cardstock. That's the same as the card base that I've got with the ink on it. And I'm going to go ahead and add some scrapbook.com double-sided adhesive foam strips to the back, and so that way it pops up off the card a little bit. Now be mindful again, I just stamped it, so it was a bit wet on the front of that, so it did leave marks on my desk, and I did try my best to make sure I didn't shift it around while I was putting on that adhesive foam so I didn't get any smudging. So that finishes off that card. Again, here I'm going to give it a good press down, and you can see on the back of that cardstock it leaves the ink on it. With shimmery cardstock, you'll find that it does take longer for it to dry, so bear that in mind when you put some black ink down on that. Again, I finished it off with some of those drops, those sparkly clear drops. And for the fifth and final method that we're going to do, we are going to use embossing powder. And this one is probably my favorite out of all of them. Of course, you could use whatever embossing powder you've got in your stash. I decided to go with silver, and at first I was going to interchange them with some metallic embossing powders, but I thought let's just stick with one, and that way I can do this technique all in one go. So I am going to literally stamp down all my ink using my masking tape, and then I'm going to apply my embossing powder over top of that. So I've got all that embossing ink, which is a clear sticky ink, down on my card base or that card topper, and then I'm going to apply my silver embossing powder to the top of that, give it a little tap to get any excess off, and then I'm going to heat it up and melt that powder so it sticks nicely to the card. And I love how this looks. It's got that kind of beautiful distressed look to it. Same exact kind of tone and marking as the colored ink, which is really fun, and we used embossing powder. So for this one, I die cut out using the same card color as the card base, which is a dark gray, and then I used a sentiment from my stash to go on the front. So I've got this Spellbinder set here. I don't know if it's available anymore or not. And then these foiled sentiments from Pink Fresh Studios, and I stuck the sentiment popped up on some foam with the sentiment stuck flat down on the background. So I got 5 cards finished in total. I still have 3 backgrounds left to play with and use and make for some more card designs. But I hope you enjoyed tonight and enjoyed seeing what you can do with masking tape and how you can use it to kind of stamp on the front of your card. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Hope you have a lovely weekend and take care. Bye for now. Don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.